Nyah lived on the edge of a small village, surrounded by vast open fields and dense forests. Unlike the other children, she preferred the company of birds, small creatures, and the whispering wind that rustled through the tall trees. While others played games and helped their families with chores, Nyah would wander into the woods, listening to the sounds of nature, watching the way ants marched in perfect lines and how birds called to one another across the sky. The villagers often whispered about her behind her back. Some called her strange. Others thought she was simply wasting time. "That girl speaks to animals as if they understand her," the women at the market would say, shaking their heads. The boys in the village laughed at her when they saw her crouching beside a wounded rabbit, whispering softly as if to comfort it. Her only true companion was her grandmother, Mama Zuena, the village healer. A wise and gentle woman, Mama Zuena understood that Nyah was different, but she did not see it as a weakness. Instead, she believed that Nyah had a gift, one that the rest of the village was too blind to see. "The spirits of the land speak to those who listen," she would tell her granddaughter, "and you, child, you hear them clearer than anyone." Nyah spent most of her time helping Mama Zuena collect herbs from the forest. The old woman taught her about the healing properties of plants, how to mix roots and leaves to cure fevers, and how the earth provided all that was needed to care for the sick. Even though Nyah enjoyed learning these things, she felt a deep longing for something more, something she couldn't quite name. It was as if the wind carried secrets just beyond her understanding, calling her to a destiny she had yet to discover. One evening, as she returned from gathering herbs near the river, she heard a faint, desperate chirping. Following the sound, she found a small bird lying motionless near the roots of a tree. Its feathers were a shimmering blend of gold and green, unlike any bird she had ever seen. It was breathing, but barely. Its tiny chest rose and fell with difficulty, and its eyes, though dim, locked onto hers as if pleading for help. Nyah carefully lifted the fragile creature into her hands. She felt a strange warmth in her palms, as though the bird carried some unseen energy. Ignoring the voices in her mind that echoed the villagers' taunts, she held it close and whispered, "I won't let you die." The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the village. Nyah wrapped the bird in a piece of cloth and hurried home, unaware that this small act of kindness would change her life forever. Nyah knelt beside the wounded bird, her heart pounding as she studied its fragile form. Its feathers shimmered in the fading sunlight, shifting between shades of emerald green and deep gold, as if woven from the very light itself. She had never seen such a bird before, not in the forests, not near the river, not anywhere in the village. It was small, barely the size of her palm, and its delicate wings trembled as it tried and failed to move. A thin trail of blood stained the earth beneath it, dark against the golden-brown soil. Nyah hesitated for only a moment before scooping the bird into her hands, cradling it gently. A strange warmth pulsed from its tiny body, spreading through her fingers like the heat of a glowing ember. It was weak, but its golden eyes fluttered open for a brief moment, locking onto hers. The look it gave her was not that of a mere creature. It was as if it understood. She knew she couldn't leave it there. The wild was dangerous at night, and the village boys often set traps near the river, careless of what they caught. If they found this bird, they would treat it as a curiosity at best, or, at worst, a trophy to show off. Nyah wouldn't let that happen. She glanced around, making sure no one was watching, then wrapped the bird carefully in a piece of cloth. The wind stirred around her, rustling the trees as if whispering a warning. She knew the village elders would scold her if they saw her bringing an injured animal home again. They already thought she was strange, always tending to wounded creatures, always listening to things they could not hear. Nyah tucked the bird close to her chest and hurried back toward her hut, her steps light and careful. The evening air was thick with the smell of cooking fires as families gathered for their nightly meals. She kept to the shadows, moving behind the clay-walled homes, avoiding the watchful eyes of the villagers. When she reached Mama Zuena's hut, she slipped inside quickly and bolted the door. The soft glow of an oil lamp flickered in the corner, casting shadows across the room. She unwrapped the cloth and placed the bird on a woven mat, watching its tiny chest rise and fall. Mama Zuena, who had been grinding herbs, turned to look at her. "What have you brought home this time, child?" she asked, her voice both knowing and amused. Nyah hesitated before speaking. "A bird, but not just any bird." She met her grandmother's gaze. "There's something different about it, grandmother. I can feel it." Mama Zuena studied the creature for a long moment, her old eyes thoughtful. Then, with a slow nod, she said, "Then we must take care of it, but quietly. The village is not always kind to things it does not understand." Nyah felt a surge of relief. She didn't know why, but something deep inside her told her that saving this bird was more important than she could yet comprehend. That night, as Nyah lay on her sleeping mat, she couldn't take her eyes off the wounded bird resting beside her. Its breathing had steadied, and its tiny body rose and fell in a rhythmic motion. But what unsettled her was the faint glow that pulsed from its feathers, like fireflies caught beneath its skin. In the dim light of the hut, the golden and green hues shimmered softly, casting strange patterns on the walls. Nyah sat up, her heart beating faster. She had seen many birds in the wild, nursed many wounded creatures, but none of them had ever glowed. She reached out, hesitant, brushing her fingertips lightly against its wing. The warmth she had felt earlier returned, spreading through her arm and settling deep in her chest. A sudden gust of wind rushed through the room, though the door was shut tight. The oil lamp flickered wildly, casting long, twisting shadows that danced along the walls. The thatched roof creaked, as if something unseen had passed over it. Nyah gasped and pulled her hand back. The moment she did, the wind stilled, and silence fell once more. The bird had stopped glowing. Shaken, Nyah glanced at Mama Zuena, who had been resting on her mat. The old woman stirred, her wise eyes opening as if she had been expecting something. "You feel it too, don't you?" Mama Zuena's voice was calm but heavy with meaning. Nyah nodded. "The bird. It's not normal, grandmother." She hesitated. "And when I touched it, I felt a presence," Mama Zuena finished for her. She sat up slowly, her bones cracking as she moved. "There is something at work here, child. Something beyond our village, beyond what we can see with our eyes." Nyah swallowed hard, unsure whether to feel afraid or honored. The next morning, as she stepped outside to fetch water, she noticed something else was different. A group of monkeys sat in the nearest tree, their bright eyes fixed on her. Normally, they would chatter and scamper away the moment she came close, but today, they watched her in complete silence. Even as she passed under the tree, they did not move. The goats by the river, usually skittish and playful, stood unnaturally still when she approached, their ears twitching as if listening to something she couldn't hear. A crow, black as night, swooped down from the sky and landed only a few feet away, tilting its head as if studying her. Nyah shivered. The air felt charged, alive, as if the very earth was whispering her name. She ran back to the hut, breathless, and found Mama Zuena grinding herbs at the small wooden table. "The animals," Nyah said quickly. "They're acting strange. It's like they're watching me." Mama Zuena didn't look surprised. Instead, she placed a wrinkled hand over Nyah's. "The spirits are stirring, child," she said softly. "And whatever is coming, it has already begun." That night, under the glow of the full moon, Nyah sat beside the sleeping bird, watching its tiny chest rise and fall. The strange warmth she had felt before lingered in the air, and though she tried to ignore it, something inside her told her that this night would be different. Outside, the village was quiet. The only sounds were the distant hoots of an owl and the rustling of leaves in the soft night breeze. The air felt charged, thick with something unseen. Then, without warning, the bird stirred. Nyah leaned closer as its tiny body tensed, its golden-green feathers beginning to glow once more. But this time, the light did not fade. Instead, it grew brighter and brighter until the entire hut was bathed in a soft, golden radiance. Nyah gasped and shielded her eyes. The wind roared through the room again, this time stronger than before, as if the very air itself had come alive. The walls trembled, the oil lamp flickered, and then, a blinding flash. Nyah stumbled back, her heart racing. When she opened her eyes, the bird was gone. In its place stood a figure, a young man, tall and regal, with deep brown skin and eyes that shimmered with gold. His robes were woven from what seemed to be threads of starlight, and his long braided hair swayed gently, as if moved by an unseen wind. A golden feather-shaped pendant hung around his neck, glowing faintly. Nyah could barely breathe. The man looked down at her with gratitude and something else, something deeper, as if he had known her all along. "You have freed me," he said, his voice rich and full of emotion. Nyah's lips parted, but no words came out. The man took a step forward, his expression soft. "My name is Adisa," he said. "I was once a prince of the Sky Kingdom, but I was cursed and cast down to the earth. The sorcerer who did this to me trapped me in the form of a bird, leaving me to wander the land, powerless and alone." Nyah finally found her voice. "A prince?" she whispered. She struggled to make sense of what she was seeing. "But how? Why?" Adisa sighed. "My kingdom was betrayed by Zubari, a dark sorcerer who envied my father's throne. He cursed me so that I would never find my way home. The spell could only be broken by an act of pure kindness, one given without expectation of reward." Nyah's mind raced. She had only wanted to save a wounded creature. She never imagined it would lead to this. Adisa smiled gently. "You didn't know who I was, yet you chose to help me. That kindness has freed me from my prison, at least in part." Nyah's breath caught. In part. Adisa's expression darkened. The curse is not fully broken. There is still much to be done. And with those words, Nyah realized her journey was only just beginning. Nyah sat in stunned silence, her mind struggling to grasp the reality before her. Just moments ago, she had been tending to an injured bird. Now that bird stood before her as a man, a prince of a kingdom she had never heard of. The warm glow of his pendant flickered like a heartbeat, casting soft shadows along the walls of the hut. Adisa took a deep breath, his golden eyes darkening with memory. "My home is the Sky Kingdom," he began. "A realm far above this land, hidden among the clouds, where the wind itself carries the whispers of the spirits. My people, the Windborn, have ruled the skies for generations, living in harmony with the elements." Nyah listened, entranced. She had heard tales of gods who lived in the sky, of spirits who rode the wind, but never had she imagined they were real. Adisa's expression hardened, but there was one who desired more than harmony. Zubari, a sorcerer of great power, sought the throne for himself. He was once my father's most trusted advisor, but his heart grew dark with greed. He believed that power should not be shared among the Windborn, but controlled by one hand, his own. Adisa walked slowly to the window, gazing out at the moonlit village. My father, King Olai, saw the darkness within him and cast him out. But Zubari did not leave quietly. He swore vengeance, promising that he would return when we least expected it. Nyah felt a chill run down her spine. And he did. Adisa nodded solemnly. One fateful night, under the cover of a storm, Zubari unleashed his wrath upon the kingdom. He summoned a great windstorm, stronger than any seen before, and with it, he struck down my father's palace. The Sky Kingdom fell into chaos. Nyah swallowed hard, picturing the destruction in her mind. "I tried to fight him," Adisa continued, his voice laced with pain. but his magic was too strong. He cast a spell upon me, a curse that stripped me of my power and my form. He took my wings, my voice, my strength, and left me as nothing more than a bird, doomed to wander the earth, unable to speak, unable to find my way home. Nyah's heart ached at the sorrow in his voice. "How long?" she whispered. Adisa exhaled slowly. "Many moons have passed. I have seen seasons change, lands rise and fall, yet no one could break the curse." He turned to her, his gaze filled with something Nyah could not quite name. "Until you." Nyah blinked. "Me?" "The spell could only be undone by an act of selfless compassion," Adisa explained. "Someone had to show kindness, not for power, not for reward, but simply because they cared. You saved me when I had nothing to give in return." Nyah felt a lump form in her throat. She had only wanted to help an injured creature, but somehow she had set something much greater into motion. Adisa placed a gentle hand over hers. "You have freed me from the deepest part of the curse, but my power is still incomplete. Zubari's hold on the Sky Kingdom remains, and I cannot return alone." Nyah stared at him, realization settling in. This was bigger than her, bigger than anything she had ever known. And somehow she knew her journey with Adisa was far from over. Nyah sat in silence, absorbing everything Adisa had just told her. The Sky Kingdom, Zubari's betrayal, the curse. Her mind spun with the weight of it all. She had spent her life feeling like an outsider in her own village, and now she was being asked to leave it behind entirely. Adisa knelt before her, his golden eyes steady. "I cannot return alone," he said. "Zubari's curse still lingers, and my power is not yet fully restored. I need your help, Nyah." Nyah hesitated. "Me? But I am just a village girl. I have no magic, no power. What can I do that you cannot?" Adisa smiled, a warmth in his expression. "You have already done what no one else could. Your heart is stronger than you know." A part of her wanted to refuse. The village was all she had ever known, and the idea of traveling beyond the forests, beyond the rivers, beyond the sky itself, it was overwhelming. But another part of her, a small but insistent voice, whispered that this was the moment she had always been waiting for. The longing she had felt for something more, something beyond the quiet life of the village, was finally within reach. Taking a deep breath, she met Adisa's gaze. "I will go with you." Adisa's smile widened. "Then we leave at first light." The journey began at dawn. They moved swiftly through the forest, Nyah following Adisa as he led her toward the great river that marked the boundary between her world and the unknown. The river stretched endlessly, its deep waters swirling with unseen currents. "We must cross," Adisa said, stepping onto the surface of the water as if it were solid ground. Nyah gasped. "How?" Before she could finish, Adisa reached for the golden feather pendant around his neck. He took it off and placed it around hers. The moment the pendant touched her skin, a rush of warmth spread through her body. "Step forward," he said gently. Nyah hesitated, then took a cautious step. To her amazement, the water held her weight. It rippled beneath her feet, but she did not sink. A laugh of disbelief escaped her lips as she took another step, then another. Hand in hand, they walked across the river, the water whispering beneath them. Beyond the river, they climbed steep mountains, where the air grew thin and the wind howled like a living thing. Adisa guided her through hidden paths, where the rocks seemed to shift beneath their feet, revealing secret stairways carved by time itself. Finally, they reached the highest peak. There, suspended between the heavens and the earth, was a bridge made of light, stretching into the sky. It shimmered like the surface of a lake beneath the sun, pulsing with energy. "This is the first of the sky bridges," Adisa said. "Only those chosen by the wind may cross." Nyah's heart pounded. "And I am chosen." Adisa touched the pendant at her chest. "The wind has already accepted you." With a deep breath, Nyah stepped onto the bridge. The moment her foot touched the glowing surface, she felt weightless. The wind curled around her like an embrace, lifting her slightly with every step. It was as if she were walking on air. She looked at Adisa, exhilaration coursing through her veins. "We are going home," he said, his voice full of hope. Hand in hand, they walked across the bridge, disappearing into the sky. As Nyah and Adisa stepped off the sky bridge, a gust of wind swirled around them, carrying the scent of clouds and something ancient. Before them, towering against the endless sky, stood the wind gate, a colossal archway carved from glimmering silver stone, floating weightlessly in the air. Beyond it, Nyah could see the faint outlines of a kingdom hidden within the mist, its golden spires piercing the heavens. But before they could take another step, a powerful cry echoed through the skies. From above, massive shadows descended, their wings slicing through the clouds like blades. 3 enormous eagles, each with feathers that shimmered like liquid gold, landed before them. Their talons clutched onto unseen perches, and their piercing eyes locked onto Nyah and Adisa. "Who seeks passage through the wind gate?" one of the eagles demanded, its voice deep and commanding, vibrating through the very air. Adisa took a step forward, bowing his head respectfully. "I am Prince Adisa, heir to the Sky Kingdom. I have returned to reclaim my home." The second eagle ruffled its wings, its gaze skeptical. "You were cast from the skies by the sorcerer's curse. What proof do you have that you are who you claim to be?" Adisa held up the golden feather pendant, its glow pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. "This was given to me by my father, King Olay. It is bound to my soul and can only be carried by one of royal blood." The third eagle regarded the pendant, but did not move aside. "A prince alone is not enough. Only those who understand the language of the wind may pass." Nyah tensed. She had come so far, but now a test stood before them. "What must we do?" she asked. The first eagle's golden eyes gleamed. "Answer our riddle, and the gate shall open." The air grew still, the sky humming with energy. Then the eagle spoke. "I have no mouth, yet I whisper. I have no wings, yet I dance in the sky. I touch all things but leave no mark. What am I?" Nyah's mind raced. The answer lay in the very nature of the Sky Kingdom itself. Then, as a gentle breeze brushed against her skin, she knew. "The wind," she whispered. "The answer is the wind." A moment of silence. Then, as if in approval, the eagles spread their mighty wings. "You have spoken true," the first eagle declared. "The gate shall open for you." The wind gate shimmered, the mist parting. With their path clear, Nyah and Adisa stepped forward, entering the Sky Kingdom at last. As Nyah and Adisa stepped through the wind gate, a heavy silence greeted them. The Sky Kingdom was not as Nyah had imagined, not a shining city of golden spires and dancing clouds, but a hollow, lifeless realm shrouded in an eerie mist. The air was cold, the once vibrant skies now dull and grey. The towering crystal palaces stood silent, their brilliance dimmed under a strange, unnatural stillness. There was no laughter, no music, only the soft whisper of the wind, carrying an unsettling sense of sorrow. Adisa's hands clenched into fists. "This is not how it was," he murmured. "Zubari has drained the life from my home." Nyah could feel it too. A strange pressure in the air, as if the kingdom itself was suffocating. As they moved forward, figures began to emerge from the mist, ghostly silhouettes of the wind-born people, their once radiant wings now dull and tattered, their eyes, hollow and lifeless, barely registered Adisa's return. Then a voice slithered through the silence. "You have finally returned, little prince." Nyah's heart pounded as a tall figure stepped from the mist. He was an old man, draped in robes of deep violet, with a long silver beard and piercing eyes that shimmered with an unnatural light. His presence seemed to bend the air around him, as if the world itself recoiled from his touch. Adisa's expression darkened. Zubari. The old man smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. That name belongs to a villain. But me, I am only a wise old man who has seen many things. And I see you have brought a guest. His gaze fell upon Nyah, and a strange sensation crawled over her skin. There was something dangerous about the way he looked at her, as if he were peering into her very soul. "You do not belong here, child of the earth," Zubari said, his voice smooth as silk. "Tell me, why do you fight for a kingdom that is not your own?" Nyah straightened. "Because it is the right thing to do." Zubari chuckled. Ah, the naivety of the young. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Why struggle for a battle that does not concern you? The Sky Kingdom is already lost, but you could still leave this place with more than you ever dreamed of." Nyah frowned. "What do you mean?" With a flick of his hand, golden coins rained from the sky, shimmering like stars. Behind him, illusions of grand palaces, endless treasures, and silken robes unfolded like a dream. Riches, power, comfort. "You could have it all," Zubari whispered. "All you must do is leave the prince behind." Nyah's breath hitched. The offer was tempting, the visions dazzling, but deep in her heart, she knew the truth. This was a trick. She turned to Adisa, who watched her with steady, unwavering eyes. He trusted her. He believed in her. Nyah inhaled sharply and met Zubari's gaze. "I am not for sale." The illusions shattered, the gold vanishing into dust. Zubari's expression darkened, the air crackling with fury. "So be it," he hissed. "Then you will fall with him." The final battle had begun. The air around them crackled with energy as Zubari's illusions crumbled. The once glimmering gold turned to dust, the vision of riches fading into the grey mist of the cursed Sky Kingdom. Nyah stood firm, her heart pounding, but her resolve unshaken. "I am not for sale," she repeated, her voice clear and unwavering. Zubari's expression twisted with anger. "Foolish girl," he spat. "You could have had everything, yet you choose nothing." He raised his hand, dark energy swirling around his fingers like a storm. The ground beneath them trembled, and a powerful gust of wind sent Nyah stumbling backward. Adisa stepped in front of her, his golden eyes blazing. "This ends now, Zubari." The battle erupted in an instant. Adisa lunged forward, summoning the power of the winds. The sky itself seemed to respond to him, swirling currents forming around his hands as he unleashed blasts of energy toward the sorcerer. Zubari countered with dark magic, twisting the air into jagged tendrils of shadow. The two forces clashed, sending shockwaves rippling through the kingdom. Nyah watched in horror. The fight was unlike anything she had ever seen. Power against power, light against darkness. But something was wrong. Adisa, though strong, was struggling. His time trapped as a bird had weakened him, and Zubari's magic was still too powerful. Nyah clenched her fists. She couldn't just stand there. She had come this far. She had a part to play. Her hand instinctively reached for the golden feather pendant. The warmth of it pulsed against her skin, as if it were alive, waiting for her to call upon it. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "Trust the wind." The whisper echoed in her mind, soft yet certain. Suddenly, she felt weightless. A powerful rush of energy surged through her veins. The wind curled around her, lifting her slightly off the ground, embracing her as one of its own. She opened her eyes, now glowing with the same golden light as the pendant. With newfound strength, she raised her hands, and the wind answered. A massive gust erupted from behind her, rushing toward Zubari. He barely had time to react before the wind tore through his dark magic, unraveling his spells like thread. "What?" Zubari gasped, his power slipping away. Nyah stepped forward, feeling the wind guiding her. "You don't control the Sky Kingdom, Zubari," she said. "The wind belongs to the free." The pendant blazed with light. The sky, once dull and grey, began to glow again. The mist lifted, revealing the golden towers of the Sky Kingdom as they were meant to be. The wind-born people, once frozen in sorrow, gasped as the curse unraveled around them. Zubari let out a final, desperate cry as the wind howled, sweeping him off his feet. The darkness that clung to him unraveled, dissolving into nothing. With one last gust, he was hurled into the storm, vanishing from the kingdom forever. The silence that followed was deafening. Then, slowly, the sky began to brighten. The wind sang through the towers, no longer a mournful whisper, but a triumphant melody. Adisa turned to Nyah, awe in his eyes. "You did it," he breathed. Nyah smiled, the wind still dancing around her. "We did it." As the last traces of Zubarist darkness faded, the Sky Kingdom awakened. The golden towers shimmered once more, the clouds above turned soft and bright, and the once lifeless air filled with the sound of rustling wind and distant laughter. The wind-born people, freed from their sorrow, stretched their wings and lifted their faces to the sky, their eyes glimmering with renewed hope. Adisa stood at the heart of it all, his golden eyes reflecting the reborn kingdom, the weight of his people's suffering, the years of exile. Everything had led to this moment. The Sky Kingdom was his once again. He turned to Nyah, gratitude filling his gaze. "This would not have been possible without you." Nyah smiled, her heart swelling with pride. She had come so far from the village girl who once sat by the river, longing for something more. The wind still whispered around her, as if it, too, acknowledged her place in this story. As the kingdom celebrated, the wind-born elders gathered before Adisa, bowing in reverence. Prince Adisa, one of them spoke, "The curse is broken, the throne is yours. It is time for the Sky Kingdom to have its king." Adisa nodded, his expression both humbled and determined. He stepped forward, placing his hands on the sky altar, the sacred pillar of his people. The wind swirled, recognizing its true ruler. With a final gust, the crown of the Sky King, woven from threads of light and cloud, settled upon his head. King Adisa had returned. He turned to Nyah. "Stay," he said. "You have earned a place beside me. The Sky Kingdom would be honored to have you." Nyah hesitated. A part of her was tempted. This world of magic, of flight, of endless skies. It was unlike anything she had ever known. And yet, when she closed her eyes, she saw the river, the village, Mama Zuwena's warm smile. She thought of the people who had never believed in her, who saw her as strange. But now, she knew who she was. She had found her strength, not in magic, but in her heart. She looked at Adisa and shook her head gently. "My place is on the earth," she said. "There are stories I need to tell, people who need to hear them." Adisa studied her for a moment, then smiled. "Then go with the wind at your back, Nyah. You will always have a home here." With one last embrace, she stepped onto the wind bridge. The sky carried her home, her heart full of the journey that had changed her forever. As Nyah stood at the edge of the wind bridge, ready to leave the Sky Kingdom behind, Adisa reached into the folds of his royal robes and pulled out something small yet radiant, a single golden feather. It shimmered in the soft light, pulsing gently as if alive. The moment Nyah laid eyes on it, she felt the same warmth she had known when she first found the wounded bird by the river, the bird that had been Adisa all along. "This belongs to you now," Adisa said, placing the feather in her palm, "a reminder of where you have been and of what you are capable of." Nyah curled her fingers around the feather, feeling its energy hum against her skin. She had never needed riches nor power. But this was something more. It was proof of the impossible, of the magic she had witnessed, of the strength she had found within herself. She smiled up at him. "I won't forget." As the wind carried her away, she took one last look at the Sky Kingdom, now glowing with life. Then, the world blurred, and the next thing she knew, her feet were touching the familiar soil of her village. The return was nothing like she had imagined. Where once the villagers had dismissed her as strange, whispering behind her back, they now gathered around her in awe. The girl who had left them was not the same as the one who had returned. There was something different about her, an air of quiet confidence, an unshakable strength in her eyes. Even Mama Zuena, the only one who had ever truly believed in her, looked at her with newfound wonder. "You have seen things beyond this world," she murmured, touching Nyah's cheek gently. Nyah nodded. She could have told them everything: the cursed prince, the sky bridges, the battle against Zubari. But instead, she simply smiled and said, "I have walked with the wind." And that was enough. The golden feather never left her side. She wore it as a pendant around her neck, a quiet reminder of the adventure that had changed her life. Years passed, and the story of Nyah spread far beyond the village. Children sat wide-eyed as elders spoke of the girl who had saved the Sky Kingdom, who had tamed the wind, who had been given a gift by a prince of the skies. Some believed it, others thought it was just a tale, but whenever the wind rustled through the trees, carrying a soft, golden shimmer through the air, the villagers would pause, listening, wondering if, somewhere beyond the clouds, a king was watching over the girl who had once saved him. And somewhere, high above the earth, the wind carried laughter, a whisper of thanks from a sky king to the girl who had believed.